Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Tuesday. This is Seattle Now. More than 8,000 acres have burned in 3 major fires raging north of Spokane. Hotels and the convention center are filled with families who had to flee on short notice. Some are returning to find their homes burned. Here in Seattle, prepare for smoke. In a minute, we'll get the view from Spokane with Northwest Public Broadcasting senior correspondent Anna King. But first, let's get you caught up. Attention procrastinators. Today is your last chance to vote in Washington's primary election. It may be crunch time, but it's not too late. You can go to one of 6 in-person voting centers across King County to register, update your address, and cast a ballot until 8 p.m. If your ballot is still sitting on your kitchen table, don't put it in the mail. Find an official ballot drop box and get it done by 8 to make sure it's counted. A do not solicit list is back on the Seattle City Council's agenda today. The legislation is meant to limit the unfair housing practice of repeated, unwanted solicitation of homeowners, often from potential buyers offering less than what the house is worth. The current legislation was crafted following feedback from stakeholders. Under the proposal, a do not solicit list would be generated by next June. Violators would be fined $1,000 for the first violation and $2,000 for each additional violation within 12 months. That meeting starts at 2 p.m. And the Federal Aviation Administration just certified a new variation of the Boeing 737. The Boeing 737 MAX 7 is small. It fits about 150 passengers and was first unveiled almost a decade ago. The FAA put the new plane under extra scrutiny following 2 deadly Boeing 737 crashes in 2018 and 2019. The plane went through several safety changes over the years and already had outstanding orders from multiple airlines. The company says they also hope to get the 737-10 certified this year. We're back with more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. KREM TV reports the Spokane County Sheriff arrested a suspected arsonist last night in connection with the Old Trails fire. It's one of 3 blazes that make up the Spokane area complex of fires. Hundreds of structures have been destroyed. More than 67,000 people in Spokane had to evacuate. Thousands lost power, and the rest of the region is choked by smoke. Here in Seattle, we're under an air quality alert through Wednesday night. California climate scientist Daniel Swain calls the natural disaster in Spokane historic.
This is not an enormous fire by even modern standards or even by the standards of fires currently burning in Washington. This is like number 8 or 9 in terms of ranked size, but by far this has been the most harmful and destructive one of all of these fires because despite its less than 4,000 acre footprint, more than half of this footprint was actually in neighborhoods.
Northwest Public Broadcasting senior correspondent Anna King has been reporting there since Sunday. She went to a neighborhood in North Spokane and took a voice memo of what she saw.
It's really surreal. Like, there are untouched houses that are basically pristine, and then there's burnt down houses all around me. There's just patterns in the green grass, like shadows that have been burnt into the green grass of the fire, and ash all the way up onto the steps sometimes that remain, or brick facades on the top of a house and the front of the house, and stairwells that lead to nowhere because the house is gone.
We spoke with Anna Monday afternoon. Here's her update. Anna, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, Patricia.
And my gosh, what a devastating picture you just painted there. Where are you now?
I'm posted up here at Spokane Public Radio. They're being so beautiful to host me here for a little bit so I can do some work at the computer. And then I'm going to be going back out in the field a little bit later this afternoon. Was out until late last night gathering tape, and it's been a ride.
Yeah, and you've reported on fires in eastern Washington for years now. I'm going to say almost at least a decade. Have you ever seen anything like this?
It has been a long time that I've been on fires. I think that every fire is unique, Patricia, but what's significant here, I think, is the number of structures lost and the number of people evacuated. This is beautiful terrain. It's ponderosa pine. It's a gorgeous downtown Spokane, but you can really feel the whole town suffering right now. The smoke is thick. There's people posted up in hotels everywhere, families. I met a little 7th grader girl at breakfast this morning. She said, I think my family's home is okay, but we're not really sure. I was having that conversation over some hotel eggs. And, it's just really heart-rending. I mean, we have more than 9,000 acres together burned in these 3 massive fires. And they're pocking the whole city in different areas, and they ran east with the wind. And so, some of these families just had minutes to gather what they could and get out the door and get into traffic to get escaped out of these fires.
Terrifying experience. Anna, I know you have been out reporting and talking with folks. What are you hearing from people who were evacuated and who have lost things?
Yeah, I've spoken with so many people, and I think one of the themes here is just that people are just exhausted, Patricia. You can see it in their faces. It's like seeing somebody at the end of a 36-hour layover in an airport or something like that. They're just exhausted, and they're in shock. Some of the folks that I spoke to are just so kind to speak with me under the circumstances and to tell me what their experience is and the stories they have. I spoke with Alicia Davison, who's 29 years old. I met her at a traffic barricade where the police were blocking anybody from going into a neighborhood. Her husband took off on foot and made it down to their house quite a distance away to see what was left of what their house was in North Spokane at the old Trails fire, where there had been massive evacuations. They got married just last year.
Everything, like my wedding dress is gone, like family jewelry is gone, everything that my fish died, it's just so terrible. And it's just, I don't know, it's just hard to process.
And her husband video called while we were talking there and while I was interviewing her. And then I recorded some of that conversation. And it was just really incredible, Patricia.
Our melted spaghetti's fence.
Yeah, the vinyl fence you just put up is gone.
Yep.
There's some tools. I could probably save a couple drill bits.
Oh my gosh. Put your shirt over your nose and your mouth, please. I love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, Anna, so much loss, so much devastation. And like we said, on top of it, the speed of these fires, it was incredible. Tell me just how quickly people had to evacuate.
Sometimes they had just moments. I talked to several families who said they had been watching the fires or seen the alerts, but then it was just on them. It was just there in the back of their house or in their front yard, wherever it came. And the wind was blowing it so fast. Some people described seeing embers floating through the air and ash floating through the air towards their porch or towards their house, and that they just didn't have time. Like they literally grabbed the go bag they already had prepared, their keys, and then they had to just leave. And they didn't have time to assess anything else. This one woman I interviewed, 35-year-old Britt Wilson, spoke to me from her parents' house in Spokane.
They had to get out at the last minute, and they couldn't find 2 of their cats when they left. So, we have no idea where they are or if they're okay. They're probably not. But it's just wild. It was that morning they were fine. They told me that my dad mowed the lawn that morning, it's crazy. It's just crazy. It's wild. And you think you see these things on the news and you think oh, that's awful, right? You feel for people, but you don't get it until it's you.
That really tells a story, Anna. That really tells a story. And I understand that shelters are taking pets, but in this case, those pets weren't found in time. Historically, Spokane didn't have wildfires every summer. What kind of conditions sparked them now?
Yeah, Patricia, as we all pretty much know, we're in a warming, drying climate pattern, and we don't also have the mosaic of natural burns that we used to have that were kind of like a patchwork quilt burning throughout the region over hundreds of years, diminishing the fuels so that the fires wouldn't burn so hot and fast. I studied this in a seminar up in Montana where they showed us the difference between areas that have been burned and areas that had not been burned and the rates of burn. And it's just really remarkable when an area hasn't seen fire in sometimes more than 100 years, it just has this fuel load that's explosive. And then you have in these mixed dry forests, you have these large fuels like ponderosa pine, you have understory, shrubs, and then you have grasses sometimes that are all like kindling on the land, and they move those fires like fast-growing carpets across the landscape. And I've been reporting on these mega fires in the West for a while, and it's just amazing to me how hard they are every time that I go to these fires.
And in this case, the wind really contributed to the problem here. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we had an event on Sunday. They called for extreme fire weather behavior from the National Weather Service. Everybody was on high alert, but the firefighters I talked to up in these neighborhoods where I was able to go, they just said there's nothing they could do. I saw 3 of them eating some baby carrots on the side of the curb, just trying to refuel a little bit. And they had sack lunches in front of them, and they just had been working for about 28 hours straight. And they said they were up there, they were trying, and it was just so frustrating because with the wind, there was just nothing they could do.
We're in a bit of a bubble here in Seattle, Anna. We tend to get the smoke. We're forecasting it this week, in fact. But a look at the fire map shows there are many fires burning right now across Washington state. Could that change? How vulnerable is Western Washington to wildfires?
I grew up in South Pierce County, and I don't think any of us are immune to this type of fire.
I know in the past you and I have talked about the I-5 corridor and the vulnerability of the I-5 corridor. That has always stuck out to me, Anna.
Yeah, I just think with this urban and rural interface, as we build into the trees and these lovely areas, those areas carry fire just the same as a forest fire would. They carry the fire across the landscape. And as it runs, there's just no boundary or border or defendable space that the firefighters can use to stop that flow. We really need to think about that as cities. Some cities in the Northwest are working to create perimeters and boundaries around their towns so that at least the core of their downtown is safe from fire, or safer, I should say, from fire. But I've seen this everywhere, Patricia. I've been up in Wenatchee, Chelan, Methow, Burns, Oregon. All of these places, the fires just are huge and they run. And the only reason that you're not affected is it just hasn't hit your town yet.
These fires are getting national coverage, but you are actually on the ground reporting. What are we missing?
I just think there's an awful lot of humanity here. I've been seeing people passing out pallets of water, dropping pallets of water in neighborhoods, people dropping sack lunches off to volunteers and firefighters, police officers. People saying, you need a lunch? No, I already got a lunch. Okay, are you sure you don't need an extra lunch? Just kind of some real humanity going on. And the volunteers themselves are just really amazing with rescue dogs that are there to help, just pacify the trauma of children and adults. Man, I almost got teared up with one of these dogs, coming out of that convention center where all these people with oxygen masks are sitting in cots and are crying out because they're confused or don't understand where they are. I saw this dog handled by a Lutheran volunteer, and I kind of got a little choked up, Patricia, because it's just a really harrowing thing that these people have been through. And it's a lot of emotion and exhaustion.
Yeah. Anna, anything else listeners should know before I let you go?
I would just say pack a go bag. Get your go bag, get your medications, your copies of your documents, get, any keys or things that you need to definitely have, get copies of those, put them all in a bag, put it in your front closet by your front door, and just know that it's there so that if you have to go, you have something with you. And have a family plan. Like if you lose your cell phone on the way out the door, where are you meeting your family? Where are the numbers? Somebody out in a different town has a list of your family numbers. And just as I've seen in Wenatchee, Chelan, the Tri-Cities, Burns, Oregon, you just got to be ready. You got to be ready no matter where you live.
That is solid advice, not just for wildfires, but for earthquakes and other natural disasters that we're susceptible here in the PNW. Anna King is a senior correspondent for Northwest Public Broadcasting. Anna, take care of yourself. Thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome. I really appreciate the work that you're doing there.
Same. Thanks for listening to Seattle Now. This show is possible thanks to our generous listeners. And before we go, our question of the week. After their performance last year, hopes were high for the Mariners this season, but so far, fans have been disappointed. Can the Mariners turn their season around? Share your answer in the KUOW app. Open the menu and select Talk to Us. More at kuow.org/question. Today's episode was produced by Anna Marie Yanni. It was edited by Caroline Chamberlain Gomez. Our production team also includes Andy Hurst, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, Vaughn Jones, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. Talk to you tonight for Evening Headlines.